Hi everyone, we're here at the White House today, although you can probably tell that by the backdrop. Let me see if I can get a little bit more in the shot. I'm outside of the briefing room, really familiar sight to many of you, of course, and Karoline Leavitt just briefed the press, and it was absolutely packed because not long before the briefing, maybe 12 hours, the night before the briefing, Donald Trump's tariff implementation, his invocation of emergency powers in order to, as President of the United States, implement his tariff agenda were blocked by a court. And so it was packed. It also seemed like as the briefing happened, the president may have been on a cusp of a breakthrough towards a ceasefire. So again, no surprise that it was really packed in there today. Lots of questions. Leavitt actually noted that when she came to the podium. I think she tried to come to me towards the end of the briefing, but the person in front of me jumped on it first. My question was actually going to be if the president had already been in touch with Speaker Mike Johnson and later John Thune in Congress about perhaps passing his tariffs through Congress while they're hung up in the courts. Obviously, certainty is a really critical point of contention for investors right now, and the administration knows that. Everyone knows that, and so the administration wants to do what it can to create an environment of certainty that incentivizes investment in the United States. And one way to do that would be to take this battle out of the courts and put it into Congress. So nobody actually asked that question, but I think I know what the answer would have been, because Karoline Leavitt is projecting nothing but confidence about the court battle ahead of the Trump administration. They're saying they're going to take this all the way up to the Supreme Court and that their agenda has not been thwarted. Basically, that everything is still on. There's no changes to these 90-day pause timelines that have happened because the administration is basically just moving ahead and is confident that they will ultimately prevail as their emergency appeal is decided and the battle continues to go through the courts. I thought the most interesting exchange of the day actually came from new media pooler Molly Hemingway's conversation with Karoline Leavitt. And Molly asked a question that I think you would really only get from the new media seat. And in full disclosure, Molly used to be my boss at the Federalist, but she made a really good point. If the White House is concerned that there's a judicial coup happening. That's what Stephen Miller has said recently. He's described this as a judicial coup of judges blocking, especially with injunctions, so nationwide injunctions, which are unusual. And even the guys over at Executive Functions who are pretty opposed to a lot of what Trump is doing have said that there's something legitimately different about what's happening with judges and nationwide injunctions from judges. So there's something going on there for sure. And Molly asked, so what is the White House's plan? Is it a concerted effort, or is it just sort of piecemeal? Karoline Leavitt answered by, I think, explaining something that sounded very piecemeal to Molly and to other people who are concerned about this. And Molly asked again, okay, so does that make it a full plan? And one of the reasons I thought that was interesting from the new media seat is representation in media is really, this is one area the media is completely deficient, is where you see a lot of bias come in, is that if you don't have the perspective of the right and what matters to the right, Molly certainly does, then you're just not going to ask the questions that are important to half of the country, roughly half of the country. And one of the things that's important to roughly half of the country is what people in the president's staff are doing to ensure his agenda is not thwarted or stymied, to use the word that Molly used, by people who wish to stop the implementation of his agenda. So I actually thought that question was a really good example of how the new media seat can be used, and I think it's a question the White House is going to need an answer on. Earlier in the day, Kevin Hassett, economic advisor to the president, had said on Fox that he expects the courts to settle down soon. And that, again, plays right into the question Molly is asking, and actually the question a lot of people on the left are asking: what does it mean to settle down? What does it mean that the courts are going to settle down soon? And what do you mean by confidently making that assertion? Does the White House have a plan to make the courts settle down? If so, what would that entail? So there are a lot more questions that the White House has to answer. I'm hoping to be able to have a chance to ask some more of them today. A little behind the scenes here. Again, I'll take you the camera view behind me. You can see the green tents behind me. That is where the major networks do their stand-up hits. So anytime you see somebody, Fox News or CNN, reporting from the White House, they have these little green booths back there. there. A lot more fun when the weather is nice like it is today than it is in the winter. The old executive office building is right behind me. Mark Twain, you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe he once called this the ugliest building in America. He may have even said the world. I actually think it's a beautiful piece of architecture, but I guess I disagree with Mark Twain on that point. But this is the door to the briefing room, and a lot of people congregate out here before and after the briefings. The briefing room is absolutely tiny in person. Everyone says that after they go in there. Last time I was in here was the first Trump administration. I was waiting for a meeting. So last time I was in here was waiting for a meeting with Kellyanne Conway that I think got canceled. So that would have been 2018. It's been a while. Everything's mostly the same. It's hard to change a room or a space that's as small as the briefing room is, and everybody has their desks and their chairs, and it's really cramped and crowded. So I'm happy that the weather is nice, and I'm hoping to have a chance to answer some more or get some more questions answered as the day goes on. But appreciate having the opportunity. I mean, it's always White House reporters, I know many of them. This is no disrespect, but when you do it every day, it's easy to get almost into a routine that numbs you to how awesome it is, literally awesome it is, to be here at the White House in the seat of power, so close to the seat of power. The briefing room is right off of the West Wing. And again, you can see that behind me. You can see the entrance to the White House, the north entrance to the White House right behind me here. So a little behind the scenes action. And Trump 2.0. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope to have more updates soon.